The four of you are currently sat around a table within the front room of Frankie's bar, shutters still closed at the front door, closed sign invisible. You notice this table has a familiar sight to it. Only hours ago it was in the back room with a man tied to it. Now though it's been moved back to its normal resting place, only it's still covered in blood. But fortunately the blood is slowly being washed away by intermittent drips and splashes of amasec as the four of you sit around having a cool drink of whatever you fancy. Drinks are on the house, boys. You done me proud. Genuinely, I'm impressed. Wasn't exactly sure if you were going to come back. Glad you did though, don't get me wrong. So, down to business. I hope you guys didn't get too pally with the guys from dagger'am. You see, they won't be coming back. While you were out looking for a messenger for dagger'am, I was out looking for a messenger for Hatchend. Told them the dagger'am boys would be coming. Told them where they'd be coming. Drew a little map. Why did I do this? Everyone's a winner. Hatchend paid us off, gave us a few little goodies. 50 dagger'am boys ended up dead. If you ask me, I couldn't be happier. All in all, it's a good day for business. They've lost some of their best fighters, and we might have a little bit of a fighting chance. And what's even more convenient is they've sent 30 people over to us, which saves us walking all the way over there to blag 'em. Now, down to business. Frankie steps over to the bar. You hear a very thick scraping noise coming out. Using both hands, he starts moving slowly towards you with a large cloth satchel. I say large, this is perhaps even 9 foot long, 3 or 4 foot wide, and very, very thick material. After using what seems to be all of his energy to move this over to you, he opens up slowly to reveal a series of guns. Large industrial weapons partly, but also some very impressive looking kit. Those scavengers from Hatchend keep the good stuff. Told you, I'd sort you out. So here's a few little goodies for you. Should keep you going. I've got plans for the West. Trust me, I'll be getting you guys sorted. As you take a few moments to start eyeing up the weapons and kit, you hear the front door crash open. Glass nearly shattering. You can hear the hinges shake for a moment. In steps a large figure, sporting the red colours of the typical dagger'am houses. Scars over his face from presumably numerous knife injuries, the man looks stern toward you. I have come to charge you a little bit of tax. Frankie looks towards him and stays silent. I see you have some guns on the floor. I'll take them. Frankie remains silent, just looking at him. Calm, tapping his foot, lighting a low stick. Well then, why don't you come and get him? He motions towards the bag on the floor, inviting the man to walk slowly toward. As he approaches, Frankie squares up next to him, the two men's toes nearly touching at this point. They look each other dead in the eye, a deadlock. Neither flinching, neither moving. For a moment it's not even clear if either of them are still breathing. Frankie sets about 6 inches lower than this man. Smaller by frame, but perhaps slightly wider in stature. Frankie pauses for a moment. With a quick jerk of his head, you notice his forehead smack into the gentleman's nose. You can hear an almighty crunch as it's painfully clear the nose has just been broken. Once more his head goes back, forth, slams into the nose once more, and you hear an even more audible crunch as the man drops to the floor. Twitches for a few moments and stops moving. All right. Frankie takes a small cloth handkerchief out of his pocket, dabs his forehead. That's one of them taken out, boys. 29 left to go. After making the headbutt, Frankie is going to slowly stroll towards the front door. Not in a rushed state, not panicked at all, just making a slow, meandering walk toward. Wiping the last few bits of blood from his forehead, he slowly closes the shutters to the front door, and you hear the sort of metallic clang as the shutters slam downwards. You see the close sign get turned around to indicate the store is now closed, and he dims the lighting a little bit more, now bringing it to the point where it's almost slightly difficult to see each other within the room, but there's not a lot of light emanating outside of the store. He turns around and walks back toward the bar, grabs a few bottles from behind. You can hear the clanging of glass together. And he walks over and places them down on the table, which currently has these guns that he has placed out for you, and pulls up a chair for himself. Well, how do you guys want to be dealing with this trouble?
As safely as possible?
It's interesting. Well, we may not have to kill all of them, but I'm not too happy about them being in this town. You see, they're going to bleed us dry in just a few days. These guys are not the nicest of people. They'll take our food, they'll take our guns if they can, and as soon as they're done with us, they'll let us go.
Implying they can take our guns.
Indeed, they can try. Frankie gives you a nod.
Go. Do you mean out of captivity, as in they'll leave, or let us go as in from this mortal coil?
Right now, I'm not entirely sure. They're not exactly known to be very forgiving or very tolerant. They probably need us in order to help salvage food for them, but that doesn't mean our existence is going to be a pleasurable one. I wouldn't be surprised if you give it a week or two if we're all wearing shackles and put to work, let's say.
Well, can't coward out of this one there, Dickie.
Dickie shoots Tom a nervous look. I'm not good with manual labor.
Indeed. And they are infamous for it. You see, their income primarily comes from some mines they have round the back end of their dagger'am. They, let's say, use and exploit workers in order to get, well, what little they can out of the scraps in the ground. Use it for an income of sorts. I fear that we will be next. So, we have a few options. The ways I see it, we got 29 that we could kill. They've got guns. We could probably do with them. As an alternative, you could maybe even try and convince some of us, by that I mean the Enfield boys and girls, to try and help you out. Or you might be able to convince some of them to turncoat. They're not exactly reliable soldiers. They're a sneaky bunch. What do you guys think?
I don't think we have time for unreliable. You said we have 29 of them, right?
So I hear.
Ashton, I think going in at once and attacking them as a group is stupid and a suicide mission.
What?
Think about it like this. If we make some of them turncoat by paying them, and then when it's all said and done, throw them in the ditch with their older acquaintances, just take the money back. No money paid, no money lost, but all the benefits gained.
Frankie grins towards you at this point, Doc. Are you sure you're not a scavenger, you sneaky little rascal?
I laugh.
I have an idea. It might work.
We're all ears.
We convince the Shag Shack to give out free shags, and as the 29 dagger'am boys are lined up waiting for their shag, we shoot them all at once, in a line. One shot, all dead, all clean, except for the Shag Shack, which is unclean, and we're done. Dickie kind of grins at his own idea and looks at everybody else.
That would be great if that's how bullets worked.
It's not?
There's this part of the body called the body that stops the bullet at some point.
At this point, Frankie's going to look down toward the floor and the bag. He's going to put 2 hands in, and he's going to pull out what can only be described as a monstrosity of a piece of equipment. Anyone that's familiar with the Underhive will know this as a stub cannon, or a heavy stubber. This is measuring about 5 foot long, and he's going to just spin the barrel for a moment. This thing might help.
Impressed. Ooh.
Oh, I want it.
All right, this could work.
It's certainly an idea, although I will admit it's particularly cruel to leave or perhaps lure men to their death with a promise of a shag. He lets out another smile.
Now
we could let them shag and then kill them.
That would work.
At least that's not cruel.
But then the shag shack gets their money and we don't.
And who knows what else they're going to get from 29 fellas from dagger'am.
Yeah, I'd rather us get the spoils.
Well, it's certainly an idea. You lure them into some form of twap, set up an ambush, as you please. Although there is going to be 29 of them potentially. That's of course assuming they all fancy a shag. Although it might be a way to thin down the herd.
Or we could introduce a type of even more dangerous venereal disease into the shack. And hopefully it's fast-acting enough to kill them all off before the week's end.
Hopefully it's not good enough.
I was thinking Tom might know of a disease or two like that, though.
Tom might have a disease or two like that, though.
Stick to your fucking scribes.
Starts paying attention to his data slate instead.
Alright, so poison perhaps is an alternative. There could be a means to dish it out to them. It's an option. Certainly be quieter than outright gunfight. Frankie's going to scratch his beard for a few moments and take a few sips of his bottle he's placed in front of him.
There's always the worry of what happens when all of them are in one situation in one place. If it does turn out to be a firefight, we're outnumbered almost 3-1.
Even with the heavy weaponry?
Even with the heavy weaponry. Because we don't know what they have.
Frankie places the glass down for a moment. Eyes widen just a little bit. It would be somewhat poetic and probably a little bit quieter if they met their end to a gas attack. And with that, Frankie picks up his bottle again and continues glugging. At this point, he's about 1/3 of the way through a bottle of Amasec, drinking it a little quicker than one would expect, but doesn't appear to be showing any signs of haziness.
Gas attack. Are the dagger'am boys ever in one place at the same time?
Well, probably not unless you force them to be that way. They will probably require instructional direction of sorts. It's not exactly like they have a grand master plan. Someone will have to come along and they don't have walkie-talkies, so, you know, they're going to have a meeting every now and again to sort themselves out. You might be able to find out where they're meeting and when.
They don't barrack together for safety? I haven't looked around yet. How entrenched are they?
Frankie, at this point, turns toward Sister Selenda, who's been oddly quiet and appears to be pondering. What exactly are you thinking, Selenda?
Well, I tried to speak on this in the beginning. I was trying to hear out other plans where these men may not have to die, though I highly disagree, and I'm glad we're all on the same page that we can't really use them. So I'm wondering now, instead of going through the trouble of getting gas that could possibly backfire and kill us as well if we aren't properly protected, what if I put together an unlikely team? Tom seems to be, as loyal with me as he possibly could for an old cooter piece of shit. But is it possible we take them out one by one and nobody gets alerted? Is it possible that I and Tom take them on one by one, cut them silently, and no one ever has to know until all of them are dead?
Possible, yes. Probable, no.
Possible, but not without risk. It's highly likely they'll be in smaller groups. They tend not to walk alone, unlike this silly muppet, as Frankie kicks the chap that's still twitching a little bit on the floor, but at this point it's just his hand that's twitching back and forth a small amount. I like the idea of killing them quietly, but there is an element of risk. If one of them sees you and fires a shot, you're going to have a lot of company. It may work, it may go badly. Again, though, the choice is yours.
Implying I will let them see me. It's also possible that I thought of this, and that is why Tom comes with me. Tom, would you like to voice your role in this plan?
You mean just get shot at? Yeah, I could do that.
Well, I was going to put it more eloquently, but yes, you will get shot at.
Except that I won't let them shoot at me, because I'll fucking run.
Basically, he distracts, I come and I kill them.
What do the rest of you think?
Dicky nods approvingly, seeing as how, he's not involved.
Well, if there's going to be more than one, we're going to need all of you involved.
Well, Frankie at this point...
I'm pretty sure our sister here can only kill one at a time.
Indeed. At this point, Frankie is going to point towards the rifle on the table and not only point towards the scope on this rifle, but then point towards the silencer at the front. You might be able to take a little perch atop of this shop. You might be able to get a decent vantage and maybe lure a few in. It's just an idea, but if you're looking for a quieter way of providing a little bit of support, could be an alternative.
No, that I can do.
I say we just fire a few shots off, load up that heavy stubber, and just mow them down as they come in.
We can do both.
We can do both.
True.
Is this bar grenade proof?
Not exactly. Nor is it particularly bulletproof. The walls are only a few inches thick here, and I'd rather not lose a bar in the next 5 minutes. Perhaps we'll keep the let's call it fortification idea as a backup should things go horribly wrong.
Always have a plan B.
All right. So it sounds like, Docky, you're a little bit fond of this, and he points towards the hotshot rifle there, laying on the table. You think you might be able to give Celinda a little bit of support?
I tap my augmetic eye and go and nod and say, I think I can do that.
All right.
I was just going to give my gratitude for his inclusion. That's all.
Goody gumdrops. So, as I understand it thus far, we've got Celinda sneaking about the shadows, taking out one every now and again. We've got a silent sniper up on the roof. Might be able to get to a few from here. We've got some silly old geezer walking around making noise to distract them. Points towards you, Tom, and smiles. I hope you're feeling tough.
Well, the Emperor does what he can.
Indeed. Let's hope he can make you bulletproof. And
We already know I ain't.
Frankie lets out a laugh. Lastly, Frankie points towards Dicky Bow. What do you think we can add to this to make it more concrete?
Well, do we have a time limit before this, we'll say, week? Do we have time to observe their patterns and behaviors? Do we have time to look for more help and gear? we could try and round up some of the Enfield gang, as you've said, and put a more cohesive unit together to assist in helping Sister Solenda. We could look towards perhaps speaking with other people that are interested in helping that could give us some type of, not monetary, but material help.
Frankie looks
nodding in approval
towards the gun bag on the floor here, grabs it with two hands and gives it a little rustle side to side, and you can see a few, in amongst the heavier pieces of equipment, a few other rifles that appear to be auto guns and basic las rifles, but somewhat shoddy condition. Should you find anyone that's not got anything, I might be able to sort them out.
The other thing we might possibly do is we take all of these spare rifles and we set them up facing forwards and then put a long string across that we can pull back to shoot all of them at once. That way, if we don't have bodies to pull the triggers, then we could at least get one volley off, right?
Curious.
Set them up along a table, little tripwire in your front door.
Curious. And Frankie's going to ponder to himself while staring at the weapons for a few moments and looking around the bar to what perhaps could be used to achieve such a feat.
A quick meta question.
Certainly.
That busted bolt pistol or Solenda, is that in the pile of weapons?
It's on the table. And on that note, Frankie's going to eye up the other items on the table thus far, which includes some flak armor, which you can see has been somewhat modified and probably personally upkept. It seems to be in pretty good condition and has had a couple of small attachments augmented onto it. You can also spy a somewhat heavily modified auto pistol with a much larger than average magazine and a rather shorter than average muzzle, which is looking rather curious. A couple of silencers sat to one side as well as a rather worn looking bolt pistol, but impressive nonetheless. A rare sight. What exactly do you want to do with these first? Let's get that sorted.
I look to Tom and I say, I point to the armor and I say, Tom, if you're going to be the distraction, I'd rather you not die. So I'd rather you take the armor for now.
I point to my chest where Rosarius hangs. And I look at you like you're stupid.
I think he snickers and then mentions how the Emperor protects.
He may never have seen a Rosarius before.
This shit's better than armor.
I'll take your word. But out of all of us, I can only remember you being shot.
It was a fluke.
Sometimes the Emperor also punishes.
I look at Tom in disgust and disapproval.
No, I just forgot to wear it that day. Totally left it when I got out of the shower.
You have a shower down here?
The sewer shower?
The sewer shower, yes.
Nice.
I mutter
smells
to
like
myself
home.
and walk away, shaking my head.
Solenda? Sister?
Give me a moment to ponder why I were with such a fool.
While you ponder that, we should see about getting this pistol fixed for you at least.
Of course. And I walk back to the table, and I glare at Tom one more time before picking up the pistol and taking a load of the damage.
Assessing the pistol, you can see it's a standard bolt pistol of Imperium manufacture. Heavily rusted though, and the barrel of it seems slightly bent out of shape. It's hard to tell if this has been used to parry something or simply been the victim of some form of attack. But the item, though still in one piece, it will still discharge its magazine normally, and it appears that its body is still in one piece. Certainly is not going to be putting any bolts through it, but there is a little bit of hope in that You're aware from your background that repairing firearms of such, it's possible. It may require a skilled pair of hands, but it would be doable. It may require some tools, but from what you're able to assess, the item will be functional once more, given a little bit of care and attention.
Well, this is not my bolter that I must use to serve my position to the Emperor, but for now it is close and it will do. I am wondering if our good friend, the lovely owner of that gun store, wouldn't have the skills to fix something like this. I understand it's a little bit more complicated than I presumed, but it is doable.
He's not entirely stupid. He's old, he's senile, but straightening that out, I reckon he might be able to help you out.
I might take a stop before we embark on our mission. See if our lovely friend can't give me a hand and some assistance.
All right. Frankie's going to place his two hands down on the table at this point. So I understand it correctly. Points towards you, Dickie Bow, with his left hand. Dickie over here thinks it's a good idea to muster up a little bit of support. I don't know if you guys want to use them as a distraction or as a means to lure them into favourable places, but I agree that having more, indeed, he nods at you and gives you an approving nod. Having the extra support may help keep us alive. And then after that, we can have a sniper up on the roof. We can start taking them out. Perhaps a good idea to begin with is to make a little lay of the land, figure out where they are, figure out where they're congregating, make ourselves a little bit of a attack plan of sorts. And points towards you, Selenda. And of course you need to get your gun straightened out. So, are we all in agreement?
I would agree. Tom, do you need to be a distraction immediately, or would you care to help me drum up support?
Yeah, I'm sure I can help you.
You have a far better way with words with the people than I do.
I'm not afraid to say what I want to say.
Afraid? No, I'm not afraid of saying what I want to say. I'm afraid of being shot or stabbed because I say what I want to say.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Hmm.
At this point, Frankie's going to start getting the guns out of the bag, placing them on the table, organising them into some form of sort of organised pattern of ones that look more functional, less functional, rifles, pistols, and making some organisation. I'll leave you guys to it for now. Let me know when you need me.
Dickie tips his hat to Frankie and moves to get up from the table. I don't need any of this loot, so whoever takes whatever is fine with me. Where should we head first, Tom?
You mean you don't want that pistol?
No.
Right, so Frankie hands over the auto pistol towards you with the slightly heavier than normal magazine. It's well crafted. You can notice it has a certain quality to it, which is unusual of the Underhive. This is probably someone's pride and joy. You can tell a little bit of custom modification's been put into it. Heavier than average as well. Somewhat difficult to hold with two hands aloof for someone of your stature and age, but sturdy weapon.
I'm gonna pray and spray with this shit, yeah. Gotta leave it with Dickie.
All right. So you guys splitting up into two now, just so I understand what's happening.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Selenda to get the gun fixed.
Okay.
And I'm
See if
gonna
I can't help
rustle up
out.
some support.
Dickie looks to Tom and he's like, where do you think we should head first? The snake pit? That other bar there that we used to stood?
Nah, they always told us who to target when reaching. We target those who have nowhere else to go. Find the homeless. That's where you're gonna get all your support.
Find a homeless.
Find the homeless.
If I understand you correctly, you want me to find people that have no residence, so I wouldn't know where to find them in the first place.
Yep.
I see. Wonderful. Alright, let's go. Dickie marches out. The brusque stride.
Okay. And so as these two are stepping outside, Celinda and Doc, what are you two up to?
We are going to go ahead and take care of our gun issue.
Okay. So all four of you will be stepping outside together. Now,
I'm going to be sizing up the every problem with the gun so I can explain it to the gun shop owner.
Okay.
And we can work on it together.
Okay. So do you want to spend a little bit of time sizing this up inside the store, or are you going to have a quick look at it and then...
Quick look, and then we'll do second opinion with him.
Roll me a quick tech test now, just yourself, to see what you can spy of the problem. Okay. You can see that the main issue with this is simply the barrel. Everything else is working correctly.
Can we roll that 6 into glory?
Yeah, that 6 does go into glory. Don't worry, I'm keeping a track for you. It's simply the actual chamber and barrel itself that is out of alignment currently, but the magazine catch and everything else, it discharges the magazine with no problem. You're able to quickly unload it, reload it, and the trigger mechanism, although currently not loaded, it does have a magazine or two with it, appears to be working fluidly, so you're able to isolate the problem down to be just this simple mishap of chance that this weapon has succumbed to such a brute force. You can tell whatever did this must have required some oomph and may require similar to get it lined up again.
Okay.
Okay, so...
When we get into the gun store, I'm going to be relaying that information.
Sure. So, as the four of you step outside, you'll notice and hear a little bit more noise coming from the Underhive today than usual. There is commotion going on. There are small murmurings that you can hear from side to side. There is chitter-chatter amongst grunts and the occasional, not screaming horror, but arguments of sorts. You can hear the tone of the streets changing slightly. Less pleasant than usual. Sounds like there may be various arguments, maybe one or two people under some form of distress, although it's hard to tell. Taking a look to your left, you can spy over the River Styx that the Snake Bar is particularly busy today. And looking over, you'll notice several people sat outside wearing the token colours of the dagger'am crowd. As well as that, straight ahead between you and the gun store, you notice another few brutish-looking figures, larger than average, certainly ones that you would instantly, looking at, associate with not being local to the area, especially sporting these colours. Again, dagger'am boys. And out of the corner of your eye, you can also see to your right a pair of less robust-looking figures huddled round a fire, but again, still sporting these same colours, easy to see simply due to their proximity to the fire. And that is your immediate vicinity. How do you wish to proceed?
I'm going to point out the two down here to Celinda, and then I'm going to hide here behind these crates and be ready to pick off one of them.
All right.
I'm going to hide as well, and I'm going to be as sneaky as possible.
Okay, so while these two are sneakily lurking in toward the shadows to survey these two, Dickie Bo and Tom, where are you guys marching toward? If you like, I can give you some information as to what you can see to spy some homeless individuals.
Please. Aside from the beefier boys, is there anybody else around?
Directly to your left and just over the river, which does have a small walkway, are a couple of shelters, which one would typically find quite a few of the homeless typically shacked up within. This is just over the street from the snake pit, so it's not too far away, let's say. It's perhaps, if one were to shout, within an audible distance. That's to your left. To your right, again, where these two stray dagger'am boys are located, or you presume boys at this distance, given their size. There are a few other homes around this area and hovels directly south on the map as such. So these would be the two populated areas as such. Straight ahead of you, there are a couple of containers and smaller buildings as well, halfway between you and the group of dagger'am boys huddled around a fire.
Dickie nudges Tom and looks towards the two huddled around the fire. Should we go be a distraction?
Yeah, I'm sure they have some interesting stories to tell.
Starts
Go check them out. They're new here.
strolling towards the two smaller looking dagger'ams that are by the fire.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So as they're approaching, Celinda and Doc, what are you guys doing?
I'm going to try and keep a clear shot onto the one on the left.
Okay. And you're able to draw a weapon, aim it toward them without making a noise. Celinda, what are you up to as Tom and Dickie approach?
I am keeping a clear shot on the other figure in the group as well, so I probably need to, outside of character, roll the same as Doctor.
If you're going to draw a weapon, perhaps yes, although with the distance again, there'll be enough modifiers to make it quite a simple task for such an elegant creature as you have been, let's say. So we've got Tom and Doctor approaching them to talk. You're sneaking on ahead, are you, into the shadows? Sorry, Doctor lining up the shot. Dickie and Tom walking towards to approach and say hello. And you're sneaking sort of around to get it within a melee range. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Right. In that case, we've had a look at your stealth test, which is enough to move more than silently. Absolutely. So you are going in toward meleeing one of them, are you? Or shooting? What's your intentions?
I would rather keep this quiet. We're going, I would like to just slit their fucking throat if we can do that.
Right, okay. So you're going to be able to get within about 10 feet with that roll, and this is all within incredibly, a very dimly lit area, so you're currently lurking within the shadows. Now, the two of them currently huddled around a fireplace. Both of them sat there facing each other. So neither one of them necessarily has their back exposed, but they are sat there currently talking to each other. So how would you like to proceed?
Their backs are to me, and I
Only one of
this.
their backs is to you at any given time, given they're both facing each other and currently around a fireplace.
I would like to stay as close as I can, but in the shadows until both of them are distracted and there's no chance of them facing me. Or low chance of facing me.
Okay. So, currently lurking slightly out of sight, only about 10 feet away, not very far, but within the shadows, not making a single noise. Tom and Dickie, you were approaching. What are you up to?
Looking as harmless as possible, and also saying hello.
Okay.
You
so
two look new.
As the two of you
Denfield.
approach, they see you coming, and they both turn toward you, being greeted in this manner. You can see their posture shift to slightly bewildered. Neither of them have currently got a weapon in their arm. You can ascertain. If you like, you can roll me an awareness test to see what you can make out of them.
Yep.
And at this point, their back is... both of their backs are going to be to you, Celinda. Dickie, you're able to make out they're slightly weedier than average. You suspect these may be perhaps late teens, early 20s, somewhat more of youths of the gang, although still a fair age for one to reach within the Underhive. From what you can tell, neither of them are currently wielding any larger weapons, although you're not able to make out what they may have concealed within their clothing, but currently both of their hands are open as they look toward you. Now, who's acting?
Gentlemen?
Okay. As you approach, they'll both turn towards you and raise a hand in the air slowly and in a tentative manner. Hello?
What are you boys doing here?
Trying to keep away from the others. One of them turns to look toward you and speak in a fairly hushed way, his posture now stooping over slightly. At this point, the two of them are both facing towards Dickie Bow and Tom. Celinda, they both have their back to you. Doc, you're able to get a clearer sight of both of them now as they're both looking past Tom and Dickie. You're able to see the outlines of their faces and demeanour. You can see them, notice them both wave towards your compatriots. We wanted to get away from the others.
The others?
We're from dagger'am. Let's say we don't get on well with them. We're young, we're not fighters. He shows you at this point a large scar going down the left side of his face, trailing all the way down slightly toward his jaw and trailing off just towards the top of his neck. This is what they do when you don't do what they want. We try and keep our distance, you know, it's safer for us.
Ah, safer. Are you enjoying Enfield so far?
Honestly, yes. We haven't been shot at yet. The two smile slightly. There's less people here trying to kill us. It's nice.
Yes. Well, shots do make a lot of noise.
Celinda, if you like, you can roll me an awareness test to see what you can make out of the conversation and decide what you're going to do to proceed.
Fantastic.
They're not too far away from you, so it'll be fairly easy to make out some of the conversation, but they are working in a hushed manner. Okay, so you're able to make out the gist of the conversation. You can make out the tone, although you are not entirely sure on a few of the words. You can make a general gist of tone, but that's about it. What are you going to be doing at this point, Celinda?
At this point, I notice that both of their backs are turned to me.
Yep.
And I believe if I move quick enough, I could cut both of their throats without either of them blinking. And I want to give it a shot.
Okay. You'd be able to make basically a charging action towards them, and you'd be able to make a multi-attack at this point. And that would be -2 to hit, so you'd roll a weapon skill test. This would count as a surprise round of sorts. So a basic weapon skill test. Okay.
Well, when Celinda rushes in, I'm taking the shot.
Okay. So, Celinda, just so you understand the action at the moment, unfortunately, because of the +2, you need one more dice to hit. You currently have a glory point, so you can roll one extra dice if you wish to try and make that into a success, or you can use your wrath to re-roll all of the failures.
Oh, I moved too fast.
No, it's okay. You could do. You've done the glory point, which unfortunately hasn't helped you. If you still want to try and make sure that you succeed at this, because at the moment the swing has gone wide, you can re-roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice. 6 dice. You can re-roll, and then that will be added to the 3. Okay.
Thank God.
As you do so, let's have a shot from Doc as well, who's going to take fire simultaneously with this, and firing at the one
with aim.
With aim. Right, okay.
Well, there you go.
That's going to deal 8 damage. That's more than enough to fell. So while conversing with the two, Tom, Dickie, a few feet away at this point, you hear a small almost like a click from behind you as you notice one of them just suddenly burst through his chest with a small amount of flickering flame. A small flash appears in front as it connects with his body. As he drops down, you notice stood behind as well, Celinda stood there with her bladed weapon, currently not revving, but having sliced through his back, as she quickly turns, pivots, and jams it into the rear rib cage of the other. And both of them, at this point, slump down onto the floor.
You fucking morons.
Well, I told you guys that that was going to be glorious.
They were fucking traitors in the making, you shit lord.
We could have converted them to help us.
Yeah.
They were
I was just gonna say, go to Frankie's, you know,
young
he
boys.
would help protect you from the other guys. And Frankie could convert them for us. But
At the
no,
very least,
you don't want that.
We could have sold them to the Shag Shack.
Then, from now on, we need some sort of symbol, some code. Something you do with your body so we can see it.
Man, I don't even have a chance.
There's a way.
I didn't even notice her until you'd already fired, man.
You were
Well,
both
when
very
we planned
efficient.
this,
I mean,
When
they're
we-
good. These two are good. I didn't even fucking see them.
I
well,
agree.
when we
Fuck.
planned this, we said I was going to kill them. You cannot blame me for following through on my part of the plan.
So,
Vicky kind of shrugs. Alright, well, we need to move these corpses out of sight before any of the other dagger'am people notice.
Check what's on them first.
Just no.
anyone looking through the bodies?
I'll do it.
Can I do a leadership test to force Dickie to do it?
Nah, I already did it.
What would I roll against that?
What, to
Conviction?
to prevent him from doing it?
Question mark?
Yeah. Or resolve.
So while Dickie and Tom are currently stood there in a little bit of shock, quickly running past you as the bodies fall to the floor, Doc appears out of the shadows and starts rummaging through the bodies. Doc, you're able to establish that the two of them were carrying knives. At this point, they appear to not have any firearms to them. A couple of knives, slightly larger than average, sort of one would associate with a meat cutter of sorts, but no other gear, wealth, or anything of the sorts. The armour or scraps of armour that one of them was wearing has been torn open at the chest. The other wearing simple clothing of sorts, although largely sporting the red colours of dagger'am.
Well, I'll turn to Dickie Bo and Tom, and I'll say,
If we meet any more like this, there needs to be some sort of a signal. The moment you hear them, any doubt in their mind, you need to give that. I can't hear it from so far away.
Perhaps the sign of them not pointing weapons at us is enough?
I can't tell. I'm looking through a thermal scope. I can't tell facial expression or mood.
You can't tell if they're pointing a gun at us or not?
I can't tell if they're threatening you.
Well, typically somebody pointing a gun at me is threatening me.
You never know. These two didn't even have a gun.
It's true. What say you, Tom? How do we do this? Do we care to convert, or should we just be on our way and we'll let the good sister and doctor take care of the rest?
Well, it's a shame that I couldn't scramble these guys. So
You can
we'll
notice
just go on.
We'll
at
find
this
you
point,
more eggs.
no need for an awareness test. Behind you is a small amount of rustling coming from some of the shanty homes at this point. You guys have been stood there for maybe 20 seconds discussing after felling these two. And within the let's say hovel as such, which is a 12 by 12 foot sort of shack of corrugated iron, you can hear small whispers and rustlings.
Awareness.
That's an awareness test. Okay. You're able to make out 2, 3, maybe more individuals whispering to each other.
Awareness. Oop. Oh, okay. Same.
Okay. Again, Dickie, you're able to make out a few individuals whispering to each other, of a fairly panicked tone. And these are coming from within the homes of the Underhive as such, and the dwellings.
Mm. Dickie kind of pointedly looks over at the homes. Perhaps we should go door to door and endorse the fact that there are weapons at Frankie's that everybody can use to protect themselves.
Are you implying there's people in there?
And cause a riot?
I hear whispering behind the doors.
Well,
Not so much a
shit.
riot, but we could
Let's
just
try it.
say that there's safety at Frankie's and start gathering troops.
Possible. I don't like it, but it's up to you.
Mm. He kind of shrugs and then makes his way over towards the hovels, and then glances around for anything that he can maybe knock on.
There's not so much a door on this, but a hatch of
Like a
sorts.
frame.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
there is a very crude sort of corrugated iron cutout as such, which seems to be held there by some sort of rivets and hinges, with not so much a door, but a cutout makeshift handle of sorts. Yeah, unfortunately, no Scotch tape has been used putting these things together. It's rusty. It's
Yeah,
looking pretty
so-
worn, and it's
Dickie's going to kind of let his coat sleeve hang down over his hand and use the now covered hand to knock on the hatch politely. Excuse me, may I speak to the owner of the house? Whatever this is. Squat.
something between the two. The door doesn't shift, but beside it, a 3-inch by 9-inch strip of metal you see slide to one side. This is currently about sort of eye height, and you're not able to see anything from inside. It appears to be pure darkness within there, but you hear a whisper. What's going on?
Greetings. As you can see, dagger'am seems to be looking to squeeze Enfield dry. They've placed troops all over the area. He kind of motions towards the corpses with his hand. And we are looking to change that. We are the... we don't have a name. We work at Frankie's, tentatively. And we just don't want to see Enfield go the way of slavery into being dagger'am's property, including you, my friend. So, what are your opinions on this? Do you just plan to let dagger'am bleed you dry, or do you feel that perhaps banding together with the rest of us would be in your best interest?
5, 10, 15 seconds go by. You can hear whoever is inside whispering to each other now, no longer conversing with yourself, followed by a few moments of silence. And then again a whisper appears. We'll help. You hear a couple scrapings from behind the door. You see the door shudder slightly, and a rather decrepit, slightly older lady steps out. She looks towards each of you, steps towards the body, and starts dragging it towards inside the building. As she's doing so, 2 other appear, slightly better condition than the old lady. Not in good condition, malnourished, thin, decrepit-looking people, but with a cautious look on their face. What can we do?
Well, we have weapons at Frankie's you can use if you'd like to hole up at Frankie's. It'll be a bit safer in numbers, and Frankie is, no mean hand himself at taking care of business. Or you could
I
Conversely,
interject. You could just hang out with us. I mean, see, look at what we did to these two assholes.
that's right. Or you could help us enlist more help.
They eye you up for a few moments and look at your demeanour. Recognising your robes, one of them turns to the other and they face slightly away for a few moments while muttering to each other. As they turn back, are you a priest?
You know what they say, love the Emperor.
Looking up and down your robes, they're slightly bemused, but they seem to be impressed. They eye again to the bodies on the floor and slowly seem to be acting a little bit more confident. At this point, the old lady's gone back inside dragging the second body, and you hear the door close. A few locks, scraping noises, the sound of a few chains as you presume she's barricading herself inside. The two of them stand there, quietly awaiting instruction.
Just stick with me. We're gonna go find some more people. We need to raise ourselves a little militia.
Okay. So, with that in mind, what are you guys up to now?
On to the next batch. We still gotta make it to the gun store. Get this pistol fixed.
Is there a way we can maybe go around them and get to the gun store before we have to deal with any of the other dagger'am people?
Possibly, not probably.
I'm going to, whoever wants to have a look and step slightly ahead to see what they can see, make me an awareness test.
Sorry,
Right.
can you repeat that?
Dickie, at this point, has gone slightly further ahead to see what he can make out. From here, you guys are currently situated at this location on the map. I'll just place the bodies to one side. You guys can see the tokens moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You can hear noises, more noises than usual, coming from the building to your right, which has the green glow. This is the shit-on-a-stick kebab shop, which serves various amenities and of the local delicacies, sorry. You can certainly hear that there is something going on there. Aside from that, you're not able to make out any other noises. As far as you can see, out of the corner of your eye, the group that are banded between Frankie's and the gun store are still there, but seem to be huddled around a fire.
Do you have any thoughts on a code or a signal? Even
tell
just
you what,
scratching your nose or the back of your head. Or...
if you hear me screaming like a ratling who's becoming a quarterling, some such, then start shooting.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Until then,
Basically, the signal would be coward boy here hiding behind me.
that works too. As long as you're the one being shot, Tom. Now then, Meadow, second. Did we determine a route around, or okay? So it's more dagger'am people at the shit shack there.
So one would presume. You can hear noises coming from there that are more burly, let's say, than the noises of a traditional Underhive. You'd be confident there is a fairly large group of people behind there.
Okay, so
More meta talk. I absolutely love that icon.
It's good.
It's so dumb.
It's good.
routine.
All wearing bandanas.
Looks like a bunch of Street Fighter characters, right?
Exactly.
All with
Looks like they belong in West Side Story, but
Yes.
can you imagine like 20 of these dudes walking down the street just
80s
Fucking
action
love it.
movie.
I fucking love it, man.
Well,
All right, back.
we don't have to take the main route to get to the gun shop. We could go around the shack of questionable food. Hopefully not get anybody's attention.
You can certainly take a long route around. There would be sort of around the edges of the and corners of the vicinity you would be able to make your way, which would be dimly lit.
Or we could just go take the main road and start throwing in explosives.
That's loud. Loud is bad.
And I'd say we take a detour, head to the gun shop, things out from there. Or we could split up, and you and I can take our new friends here and try and get more assistance, while the sister and Doc take the detour to the gun shop.
Frankie have weapons for our little
yeah
additions. We
So
should probably send them back to Frankie's to get weapons and meet us.
they get accosted, though, when they have weapons. Frankie did implicitly state that the dagger'am people would attempt to take our guns and our freedoms.
That is true.
And nobody can take our guns and freedoms. At least not here. But that also means the good sister is a rather large target with her armor. Large as in a expensive? Yes, quality target. So being seen is not something I would suggest for any of us.
As long as you follow my lead, you shouldn't be seen. I think we've proved this.
Yes, your lead. We're not all Imperial Special Forces.
Okay, so what's the chosen route?
Yeah, at this point, Dickie's just going to turn around and start walking back to Frankie's, motioning towards the two new joiners.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea, Dick.
Sister, you can follow us if you'd like, and then we can all move together to the gun shop, or you can split up and we can save a little bit of time and perhaps meet in the middle.
I think we should meet in the middle, unless you would like some of my muscle behind you.
No, we should be safe enough making it back to Frankie's and then either returning here or waiting outside Frankie's for you.
Then I shall head to the gun shop and we will meet in the middle. See you on the other side.
Safe journeys.
Okay, so I'm going to ask both of you to roll me a stealth check. This is going to be simply to make your way around the outskirts of town to see how well you can avoid detection. So, Linda, I'm going to allow you to shift a dice over to Doc if you roll fairly well. So you're going to roll me your 7 dice. You guys are able to make it with the aid of shadows, and this is going to take you some time around right the edge of the town here. You observe as you pass a large group, a very large group located at the Shit on a Stick cafe. It's looking, well, maybe like, well, I tell you what, we'll just show you that many individuals located there, and one in particular, very, very large, brutish looking individual sat by them. Working your way around town, Celinda, you notice Doc making a bit more noise than usual. You're going to have to take a longer route, and you're going to make your way to the back of the gun store. Now, can you roll me an awareness test at this point? You can hear noises coming from the front of the store. There's some people conversing there. There is... Currently, you're at the back entrance, though, to the gun store, and there is a door ahead of you.
I think we're going to sneak through this door just to be on the safe side. Hide out and see what's going on and see if I can't catch more of their conversation, if that's possible.
Okay, so you want to sneak inside the building or around the side to listen in?
I want to listen in.
You're currently the other side of the building, in amongst the shadows. Okay. You can hear what sounds like 3, although one can't be entirely sure, but you can hear 3 individuals currently doing a little bit of window shopping, looking at some of the, let's say, the front window, but making some joking remarks. They appear to be mocking the establishment.
I say, maybe we should assume it's dagger'am. Don't go in guns blazing, but go in guns drawn. It's not
I would have to
dagger'am.
agree. I would have to agree with you.
All right. Ladies first.
So you guys
Killing
are
these
walking in the
false.
front entrance, yeah?
Sneaking, yes.
Okay. Well, you guys can certainly approach the corner. Sure. So you're able to poke your head around the corner and see 3 individuals looking, and they are sporting the dagger'am colours, looking into the front entrance.
I turn to Doc and I whisper, "We are absolutely dealing with dagger'am. We may just have to take them out silently."
I tap a finger on my silenced las gun and say, "Yeah, I got that."
I can
Okay.
let you handle these kills if you would like. And I can assist.
Okay, so Doc is silent.
Jesus Christ.
Ooh, not a great roll, but still Sister Cylinder's not making a lot of noise. You're both able to set up position, get ready to attack. Now, if you'd like, you can both describe your actions to me as to what you're each going to be doing. I'm presuming you're going to be acting simultaneously, or is one of you taking charge?
Doc is taking charge, but I'm assisting.
Okay.
But
I'm going to.
But I don't know if that's going to work anymore. That was the old plan.
I'm going to turn the corner.
Yep.
And immediately pop salvo.
Okay.
And not let go of the trigger.
Right. Sounds good. And this is
As
with the silenced hotshot, I presume, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So, you can roll me an attack. And you get your 1 extra salvo dice. Is this going to be an aimed action too?
Yes, because
you are stationary, so yep.
Boop.
Damn. The target was 8. Doc sneaks around the corner without making a noise, and a flurry of shots crack out of the end of his rifle. You can see small flashes appear, but only very muted flashes. Just a small blink of light from the tip of the weapon. And you hear a few noises only in the distance as the shots connect with both the building and the background. And a few damper sounding noises. The sound of tearing and searing flesh. Moments later, the bodies simply fall to the ground. Burning holes seared through them.
Out of my town.
Now, you're able to do this at the moment, and you are able to see the group of 4 still huddled around a fire. You've been able to do this without alerting them. They haven't noticed you as of yet. Currently, the line of sight between the bodies and them is broken by a small, hovelled home. But that is your current situation. You're currently aside the building. What's going to be your next action?
I'm going to pull at least one body at a time into the gun store and hope Celinda is going to help me and try and hide them. Like, I'm going to shoot them and try and drag one of them into the gun store. And then if the guy tells me not to, I won't.
Okay. Tom and Dickie, do you want to switch over to you two for a second?
Sure.
Okay,
Whatever's
so
good.
the 2 of you have returned. I like a little back and forth. The 2 of you have returned back to Frankie's at this point with your new 2 compatriots. Frankie at this point has organised the guns into several piles. You have to knock on the front door as you arrive, as it has been bolted shut. And Frankie cautiously pulls through a shutter just to see who it is before allowing you in. Who are these 2?
New recruits.
Goody. At this point, Frankie tells them where to stand by pointing to the ground and gives them both an eye up and a menacing look. At this point, he's just surveying their character. All right. Looks like they're trustworthy to me. You guys shot a gun before? The 2 of them shake and cower a little bit. Oh dear, oh dear. He pulls up 2 auto guns from the table, almost forcing them into their hands, commences to instruct them on basic usage.
Oh, hell yeah, I don't have to do it.
Point and click.
I know.
Okay. So this exercise is going to take just a few minutes to run them through the basics. Frankie's going to turn toward Tom and Dick. Nice job. Any more about, or just these 2?
Those 2 so far. We wanted to take them back with us to find more.
All right. Do you want them to take the guns with?
Have them each carry a spare. I think we can find some more.
All right, he's going to load them up with a couple of pistols as well. I wouldn't be running around with 2 rifles each. You're going to raise a few eyebrows. He's going to
I agree.
give them some smaller items that they can conceal, a couple of basic las pistols and a couple of auto pistols each.
I'll take a rifle, though. I'll give it to another one.
All right, he's going to hand you a las or auto.
What do the other 2 have? Auto?
Yeah, let's call it auto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that,
So I'll go with the las.
okay, Frankie's going to, after having relayed the instructions to them, turn them both to face toward you, shove them each both on the butt to give them a nudge forwards, and then commence with rummaging through weapons and sorting piles of ammunition. So,
Some Windex.
the 2 of you, what are the 2 of you up to, Dickie and Tom?
So now that our new friends are equipped with rifles and pistols each, correct?
Yep.
Dickie looks over to Tom and he says, all right, so we still have an open avenue to go back to where we were, met our friends here.
I say we go back the way we were going the first time. Check up on the old lady, make sure the bodies are properly disposed of, and then continue moving on.
Fair enough.
Okay. So you guys are heading for a stroll back down towards the little shanty street down here. As you step out, you notice the 4 still huddled around an oil barrow in the middle. You're unable to see anything at the gun store at this point. All seems to be slightly quieter than it was when you first stepped out. But still the grunts and moans of the Underhive persist. The odd scream and wail in the background, and still the sounds of arguments and distress from around you.
Okay.
As you approach the hovels, I'll ask you both to make me an awareness test as to what you can make of each of the homes. Okay. Tom, unfortunately somewhat hard of hearing, and seems to have a little bit of wax stuck in his ear. Probably hasn't cleaned it in a couple of decades. Dickie, though, you can hear a few more murmurings coming from within these homes. They're noises and rustles. You're pretty sure a few of them are habited, but it's difficult to ascertain as to how many and whom.
Okay. Dickie questions the 2 new recruits. Do you know anybody in the vicinity that might want to assist us?
Okay. So what we'll do, I think, here, just to sort of compress this a little bit, I'm going to ask you to make me a cunning test. These 2 will be assisting you just to see who you know in the nearby area. You know a few people in the nearby homes, Dickie. You've done a few tasks for them in the past, and these 2 gentlemen that are with you are able to point you to a few homes that they know the people within. People aren't necessarily friendly down here, but you tend to know which homes are habited. Minor complication, though, that you do manage to offend one of them. Not quite sure how. One of them just seems to be a little bit standoffish towards you.
One of the 2 new guys or one of the homes?
One of the 2 new guys. He seems to be, at hearing that you're a private eye, he seems to be slightly cautious towards you.
He kind of shrugs helplessly at him. It's just a living. Let's start, shall we? And he makes his way towards the first dwelling.
Okay.
Start knocking on doors and giving the same spiel that he gave before.
What we'll do is we'll compress this a little bit down. Tom, are you doing the recruiting alongside Dickie Bow? So
one of you will be doing assisting on Tom's leadership.
Okay, so Tom, if you want to do a leadership, Dickie Bow, you can assist how you like. We'll see how much you guys are able to rustle up, and then we'll go back to the gun store.
Go ahead and roll your assist.
So that would be my leadership, right?
You can assist with what you like. So you can assist with deception, persuasion, cunning. It depends on what you want to do to assist, basically.
Would insight work?
You could use that to weigh up which ones seem like they would be trustworthy.
Okay, how about... So my insight and my awareness are both 7 dice, so I guess maybe we'll say a combo of the two.
Yeah, sure. So you're going to have a little survey of the individuals you approach to see who appears to be the most susceptible, let's say. Was that your roll there?
No, that was
apologies.
Previous roll. That was my roll.
Okay, you pass. So Tom's going to get a bonus dice towards his leadership roll to see how many individuals you're able to muster from this.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm going to go ahead and reroll Wrath.
Okay, so you can reroll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's fine.
Whoa.
5, you're able to rustle up another 3. Another 3 individuals from these homes that Dickie spies are probably trustworthy. There are a couple of others, but they seem to be more decrepit, almost scavenger-esque. They appear to be not people you would want to be giving a gun to, but a few of them seem to be trustworthy, so you're able to rustle up another 3 from the nearby vicinity, and that's unfortunately all you're able to come up with. The rest seem to not be answering doors or simply turning you away at the first sign of anyone approaching their homes.
Well, I suppose this is as good as it gets. Should we show them how to use firearms, or take them back to Frankie's? Perhaps just start a rampage? What's your opinion, Tom?
Frankie's going to need some help, so let's send them back 2 of them.
Okay, so you're keeping 3 and sending 2 back. At this point, we'll go back to the gun store. You guys have been starting to drag the bodies inside. Starting to drag them in, Doc. Instantly, as soon as you're in there with the first body, the old gentleman recognises you waving both arms in the air. Hello there! The fuck you got there? And starts eyeing up the body you're dragging in.
Trouble. We're trying to remove these dagger'am boys from our hive, but we need your help. My companion, the sister, talked to you a while ago about a bolt gun. We found one.
Did you?
I just need your help getting it working again.
No problem. He eyes up the body that you're dragging in and motions to do so quicker. Cylinder as well, he helps assist you with the last 2, mainly just sort of hurrying you in and trying to obscure the line of sight before closing the door. Closing the shutters at the front of the store, obscuring any light from appearing. This place is quite well sealed and fortified, as you would expect from a gun store. This place is able to, let's say, withstand a few shots. It's very industrial, thick sort of girders that come down and shutters that make you feel like you're somewhat fortified within here. The door is locked and bolted. Bodies piled up in the middle of the floor. Right then. The old gentleman cracks his knuckles together. Let's see what you got.
I'm going to go ahead and walk over to him and hand him my weapon and let him see what he can do. And I say to him, it looks like I can recognize the damage on it, but I believe your hands are capable to fix this. What are your thoughts?
At this point, he takes one arm, swipes the central table, clears maybe 5, 6, 7 guns off. You hear them rattle as they hit the floor, praying to the Emperor that none of them were loaded. No shots go off, fortunately. This again is his workbench and normally full of faulty items. Turns on a central light in the middle of the room and peers down towards it. Look at this. Fucking beautiful. Takes a few moments to start eyeing it up. And with that, he's going to do a little bit of investigating. See what he can come up with. Call me. He seems to be a little bit confused with what the actual problem is. He starts playing around with the magazines and drawing back latches back and forth, but he's not entirely sure what's going on and looks towards the 2 of you slightly bewildered.
I tap the barrel and I say,
So far with everything I've been able to find, the barrel's the problem.
And with that,
It's crooked and spent.
He's going to hold the gun up now, having disassembled it slightly. Hold the barrel up towards the light, and yep, you can notice, or he notices very clearly after being drawn to the problem, that trying to actually look through the barrel, that no light will pass through it. It's deviated maybe only a centimetre one side, but this would be something you really do not want to be passing a bolt through.
The fuck happened to this? I think we can fix it.
He starts drawing out a large clamp, a large, very large-looking industrial-sized hammer, and a few other bits and pieces, let's say, screws, drills, and starts assembling something towards the centre of the table.
I think we can do this. Ducky boy, come over here.
So, at this point, Doctor, he's going to ask you with your assistance to help line this up, and he's going to need your assistant cylinder to help bend it back using your strength, basically. So, with this, Doc, do you have the most proficient technical test?
I do.
Good stuff. So he's going to make a test to try and help you line it up. Okay. He's going to shift you one extra dice.
Shit.
Cylinder, are you able to do a athletics test for me?
Shit.
And you'll be able to assist. There you go. You get 3 bonus dice to your technical test, Doc. The good news is that the difficulty was a 6. You're able to bend this back into shape. The complication is that in doing so, one of the magazines wasn't unfortunately removed properly, and that it does unfortunately validate or destroy one of the magazines, leaving only 2 functional ones left for this device. But you're pretty confident now, able to eye down that it appears to be in working order. You have yourself a functioning bolt pistol, as the old chap starts to shimmy about and do a small jig on the spot.
I told you we can fucking do it. Look at this. Fucking beautiful.
And he goes towards kissing you again, Doc.
Put a hand on his chest and pull one hand out in a handshake gesture and say,
This is all that's necessary.
He'll shake your hand gladly. And with his other hand, he will pass you the bolt pistol cylinder.
I think this is fitting for the lady.
Very.
We greatly appreciate your assistance.
Anything else I can be doing for you while you're here?
You can stay safe. We might need you after this.
He draws a very solemn look towards you and pauses for a moment. Pulls out a drawer from the desk. It appears to be a concealed apartment. Takes a knife in his left hand, an auto pistol in his right. His third arm draws out and a third pistol.
Let them fucking come at me.
I give him a smile and I say,
Good. I'll be seeing you later then.
Okie doke, fellas. See you around.
Goodbye. Celinda, we got a job to do.
Let's head out. Godspeed.
So you guys making your way back to Tarts and Frankie's?
Yes.
sure, yeah.
Okay. Central group is no longer at the fireplace as you move. You're able to notice a couple of them have already disappeared. Others you see moving. After disappearing to a certain point, you're not exactly able to sure where they have gone. You just notice that they've moved away from the area. And these dead bodies are currently inside. Okay. So what are your actions after leaving the gun store?
Celinda, lead.
All right. I was going to... I'm getting there. I think we are just heading back to Frankie's as quickly as possible. Doing our best not to get caught by anyone and trying not to enter any conflict before we get there.
Okay. At this point, you can notice walking past that the other group seems to have merged with the group at the kebab shop, the Shit on a Stick cafe, making a very, very large group present over there. But you are able to move so without them seeing you. You're able to make your way through, keeping amongst the buildings and avoiding line of sight of the snake pits. Tom and Dick, are you back at Frankie's? Or
Yes, we headed back with the 3 new recruits.
Right.
So I believe the 5 of us are...
The
5 recruits.
You are all back. Again, Frankie opens a small shutter and motions each of you in individually. At this point, the original recruits are seeming slightly more confident with their weapons. They're eyeing them up a little bit less, and you can see that they're desperately trying to rehearse in their heads how exactly to unclip, reclip the weapon from their harnesses, as well as sort of taking out magazines and switching them back and forth. They seem to be getting a little bit more comfortable. Welcome back. So, seems you've got a little party here.
5 down.
All right.
And 5 up.
5 more down. Yes.
Heads up, 7 up.
So that makes 24-ish left. I wouldn't rely on the dagger'am boys to be able to count that accurately, but let's call it 24-ish. So.
There's a party over at the kebab shop. Big one.
What are we going to do about it?
Perhaps put that stubber to use?
We can do that. Right. Hello everyone, it's me, the GM here. So, we're going to break down the following events into more of a narrative breakdown because the combat lasted some hour and 15 minutes. But to compress that down, let's take it step by step and see how the group did. So the original plan was for Frankie and Doc to be atop of Frankie's bar, getting a decent vantage point to take out a few as silently as Doc could before the real action kicked off. Frankie was up there for a little bit of moral support to begin with, but he did have his heavy stubber at the ready, a long, ginormous, almost anti-vehicle weapon, some 5 to 6 foot long and sporting a ginormous caliber. The others you can see just to the right of Frankie's bar are currently awaiting anyone approaching, ready to ambush. Now, Doc starts off by targeting the units toward the north up here. Doc manages, after lining up his rifle, to make 2 headshots and the 2 individuals fall back into the shadows. The group just beneath them, not noticing, busy conversing with each other. The small flash that appears from the rifle seems to not be enough within the misty air to stir any noises from them. Shortly afterwards, he picks another 2 off from the larger group just beneath at the snake pit, and the remaining 3 stand up looking confused, frightened, and alert. Before he's able to get any more shots off, the group run and move inside the snake pit. Seeing them do so, Sister Solenda runs to give chase to them. She runs in and is able to catch up, standing just beside and behind them, slays them all with her chain-mounted wrist blade, the Hospitaler tool, the medical device put to much more deadly use. She does so silently, with a few members of the bar struck in panic by the events that have just occurred, but the barman realises what's happening, clicks a few weapons together and starts organising the bar into joining the fray. But the other side of the bar, Sister Solenda can hear a few noises and rustlings as this group appear to start moving towards and making some larger noises. Sister Solenda quickly returning, it's apparent that the groups are now moving closely toward the area to investigate what's happened. Shouting at this point is occurring, many voices being raised. It's apparent that someone spied or saw some dead bodies outside the snake pit, and the rest of the dagger'am boys are still on their way. At this point, there is about 15 to 20 headed their way. Now, at this point, outside of Frankie's bar, the group splits up into several smaller groups. taking cover around a couple of the canisters. Tom, slightly above inside the shadows with Solenda, with a group of followers armed with auto rifles. Just below them, Dickie stands there waiting, ready for anyone to come round the corner. A few heads poke out and Doc is able to take out a couple more from the back. There is an exchange of gunfire for some time. One or two of the stragglers are taken out from the back streets who are attempting to lay down fire support. A group that wasn't anticipated, however, makes its way round. Well, the group didn't see where they came from, but around the side of Frankie's bar, and they kick over a few tables to take cover as such. Frankie, however, with his heavy stubber, is ready and waiting, and the cover is not enough to withstand the fury of bullets that appear from the monstrosity of a weapon that he wields. Standing atop of the bar with his foot on the railings at the side, he unleashes what feels like 100 shots towards the outside of the snake pit. The group are no more. Exchanging bullets for some time, Sister Solenda then separates from Tom to move around the side of the building stealthily without making a noise. The rest of the gunshot continues, but it's apparent that people are moving closer. More gunshots take place at this point, being exchanged primarily from this back corner of a hangar. Fully automatic fire is now being exchanged back and forth between, with no one finding their mark, everyone taking advantage of good cover as well as dim lighting to make each other somewhat difficult to hit. A couple of Tom's followers unfortunately lose their footing, collapsing out into the street and are quickly riddled with bullets, leaving just one left. Sister Solenda, however, moving along the top, is able to find her mark, quickly stab one of the dagger'am boys in the back of the neck. Seeing him wriggle in front of her, the blood trickles out over her before the body stops shaking finally and collapses to the floor. At this point, the other group have given up with exchanging fire. It's apparent that the heavy stubber and the auto rifles, all raining down a hail of bullets upon them, is simply too much for them to bear, so they make a move and try to flank the group. One or two are taken out en route, leaving two left. Tom provides support, charging forwards to try and assist Dickie Bow, sending his last minion there to help. As the brutish figure turns the corner, Doc takes a shot, missing, just glancing the side of the large brutish figure's head. But Dickie Bow, there ready and waiting with his las pistol, takes a single shot between the brute's eye, getting a critical hit and several mortal wounds, playing a campaign card, felling what is a monstrosity of a man in heavy clad armour with a single blow. A lucky fucker, if you ask me. He lays dead. Lastly, one man, one lone, desperate survivor charges in. He climbs on top of Tom's last remaining devotee and grapples him. The two wrestle for some time, Tom, Dickie, Doc, watching at this point to see what happens, not intervening, just simply cheering on their man to see if he is able to overcome him. Time goes by, and the dagger'am boy gets the better of him. He starts backing off very slowly with his hands and elbow wrapped around in a grapple around the devotee's neck. He backs off slowly, trying to find a means of escape. As he's doing so, though, he turns to face Tom and Dickie, who are trying to talk him down, and Doc is able to find a clean shot to his head, putting a bullet square into his temple. I should say a bolt. A small crack, a small clap comes from the outside of the barrel. A small amount of light flashes toward, and the body falls to the floor, leaving one very grateful follower falling to his knees, thanking them for saving him. At this point, the streets are littered with dead bodies, and this is where the session ends. I'll see you all next week.